Welcome to my tutorial for Avenging Spirit for the Game Boy. Yeah, this is a very unique game. Very cool game. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's a solid game. A lot of fun. Very interesting mechanic of being able to possess any enemy you see, pretty much. So pretty much any enemy that you come across, you can possess them and become them. And I'll try to explain how that works. You see there's an energy meter at the top. That energy meter determines how long you can stay in ghost form. When you're in ghost form, that energy meter will slowly drain. And when it goes away, you die. If you don't possess somebody in time, you'll just die. Once you possess somebody, the energy meter stops depleting. And then below that, you have your usual life meter, which your life meter is just, if you run out of life, you die, no matter which form you're in. And if you don't possess somebody before your energy meter runs out when you're in ghost form, you also die. I think I already mentioned that. You're invincible in the ghost form. But if you can't find somebody to possess, you'll just die. There's no lives during the levels. There's no lives in the game. It's just, if you die, you go back out to the continue screen and you start the stage over. But you do have unlimited continues. So yeah, I think I'll be able to give some useful techniques. Actually, the Ripper 999, my good friend, he was over yesterday hanging out while I was playing, and he gave some cool suggestions, and actually that's what ended up beating the last boss. So I'm going to talk about that when I get there. I'll try to explain that. I like using this guy, but of course this was I didn't even die on this level when I first booted up the game, so this is not refined at all. This was my first time playing the game, because I'm only showing the successful segments of what I beat. So this was when I first got here, so you see it's sloppy, but I used the guy with the gun, and I found it very easy overall. I mean, I could have played it a lot better, obviously, but like I said, this was my first time trying the boss. But all you got to do is shoot him when he pops up, and when you hit him once, he goes back down again. So sometimes you get him in a nice little pattern where he just keeps coming up in front of you, and you keep shooting him like this. I'm guessing that's not too hard to get him into that loop, unless I just got really lucky. Of course, I only played it once, so I can't offer a lot of great strategy on it, but I don't think you're going to need it for that guy. And yeah, this is what all the deaths edited out. This game took me, I have to think back, I think it took me something like an hour and 50-something minutes. I'll have to check again. I think it was just a little under 2 hours to beat. Not a hard game, but there are some tricky parts. But, yeah, now you'll notice a lot of times that since I edit the deaths out, I start off as a different character sometimes than what you saw me as. And that's just because, when you go to the continue screen, you keep the character you last had. And you'll start the stage with that character, which is very important to keep in mind. For this part, you're just going to make your way through the path that you see me taking, but remember that you want to wait for those platforms to appear and then quickly get on them so you don't fall through, obviously. It's kind of your typical platforming. But if you follow this path, I like using a woman for this part because she has a very high jump. So she can, she can get that life item up there easily, and she can get over a lot of the platforms easily. So I would say possess her if you get her. This floating monk guy is pretty shitty to be. They're also very annoying enemies, but even if you possess them, they're pretty shitty. All they can do is punch, and they can't float. All they can do is jump a little high, but they don't even float when you possess them, so they're kind of worthless. Now, these keys are totally optional. I wouldn't have even gotten the key, because I only end up getting one key throughout my entire playthrough. If you get all 3 keys, at the end of the game, you'll go in a door and you can unlock your girlfriend and save her and get the good ending. And then you can use that girlfriend. She has lasers that shoot at. She's very powerful. You can use her on the final boss. But I'm going to show you how to beat the final boss very easily without her anyway. So if you're just trying to beat the game, don't worry about it. You can check other playthroughs if you want 100% completion or whatever. But I didn't give a shit. I just try to beat games. So now here you're at the boss. This boss is very easy. I would suggest having some kind of projectile weapon like this gunner. And of course, this was my first time playing it since I didn't die on this boss. So I was getting a feel for, how it works with the crusher coming down. But once you get it into a rhythm, it's very easy. You're most likely just, you're mainly just going to keep walking in one direction. You'll see when I get it down towards the end, you'll see it's a simple pattern. It just took me a few tries to get used to it. Of course, the only time you can hit it is when that barrier goes up. But as you can see, it's very easy. The only boss that's kind of hard is the final boss. But he's actually easy with the technique that I'm going to show you that the Ripper showed me. It's a very good technique. And then he checked a speed run of the game afterwards and saw that the speedrunners were using the same technique. So it's a very efficient technique. So now you see me using this guy with the shurikens, which he's a pretty decent character. But, you know, you don't necessarily need him for these parts. I mean, he might be useful, but there's other characters that are, you know, decent enough for this section. It's just a preference, really. Yeah, so at first you may not know where to go in this level, but if you just follow the path that I take, you know, you'll be going the right way. So here I fall on the spikes, and, you know, I'm in ghost form, but I have a lot of energy, so I'm able to get down here and possess this shitty guy that throws bombs. Or actually, no, this guy's decent. Actually, this guy ends up, I think, beating the boss. You know, this wasn't the shitty character. He's pretty good. He has these missiles that are very slow, but they home in on enemies. That's the invisible man that you see just passing through me. Those guys can't hurt you. You can possess them, but they're shitty. What they are is, if you possess them, you get temporarily invincible, but you can't attack anything. And it's very useless because while you're in that invincible man form, or invisible man, but he's invincible as well, your energy bar drains quite fast. And when it drains, you just die if you don't possess somebody else. So I do not recommend possessing the invisible man at any point in the game. Just a complete waste. You know, maybe there's a use for it for people going through the game fast. I don't know if speedrunners would use it, but I'm just talking about beating the game. So yeah, it's pretty easy to get into this boss door at this point. And now you're going to see a very easy trick where I take no damage, I believe. I just go to this top platform, and he has a very floaty jump, so you can kind of stay in the air for a while and let the little popcorns go underneath your feet. That's what they look like. But as long as you fire your missiles out, they're going to go straight to the boss and hit the boss. So I do recommend possessing this guy for the boss fight just to make it really easy. It can be a little tricky if you try to move around and jump on all the platforms and shoot him. It could be a lot harder. If you do this, it's super easy and you shouldn't even take any damage. I just found this by, you know, just by fucking around. Very easy. There's also a version of this game on MAME for arcade that's very good, but it's a coin waster style game, which means that there's no penalties for death aside from putting in more credits and starting exactly where you died. So I like this version much more, you know, because I can play it with a little bit of a challenge, you know. I mean, I could limit my credits in the arcade version, but I usually don't do that. But I guess the arcade version is the better game, obviously, but this one at least, you know, it has a challenge in place normally without having to, like, make an artificial challenge. So yeah, if you want, you can get these health. Those big tanks give you your life back. They give you a lot of your life back, and those small containers give you some of your energy back. That's all they do. So, you know, get them if you need them, then pick them up. Not much to really say about that. The bosses are really the main areas that are usually a little challenging, but most of the bosses are pretty easy. The game really is not that hard as a whole. There's just some tricky areas, though. I think this stage was one of the first stages that was a little bit difficult, because this one might be... I don't know if this was one of the longer stages. I don't think so. No, I think the next stage is the first stage that got a little challenging for me because it's kind of long. But if you take this slow and just shoot a lot, you pretty much clear out these guys and shouldn't take much damage. You can just keep shooting, and you probably won't get hit too much. You can get that energy tank, or that energy restoration at the bottom if you want it. They don't give you a lot of health when you go to ghost form and then possess somebody. You start with very little health. Keep in mind, though, whenever you enter a boss room, you get all your life back. So don't worry about getting to the boss with full life. They'll replenish it for you, at least, when you get in the boss room. Now, this guy, it takes me a little time to get in a decent groove with him. I think I take a lot of damage on this fight. But you'll see, it's not that hard. I start getting in a rhythm with it, I think, towards the end of the fight. But whenever he's going to spit his shit out, you know, you just jump it as it's coming out. And for these acid drops, you just get in between them. You know, just pay attention to the screen and just try to stay in between those drops. And then when you see him about to come out of the water, start moving away from him. You know, you only need a little distance to dodge his spit. And then you just jump as it's about to come out and just keep shooting at him. I think this wizard is a good character to use on him because of the projectiles. So yeah, that's all you really got to do. He just does the same shit over again and again. So once you get used to it, you get in a rhythm with it. Again, as usual, you know, you can always use save and load states on an emulator to practice any sections you're having trouble with, which I always highly recommend to do in these games. It'll save you a lot of time than being sent back. I don't know if I really practiced this guy separately. I mean, I found that he was easy enough. I think I just kept redoing the stage. I did die several times on this fight. But after a few more hits, he will be dead. And then you'll be on the first level that I found to be kind of challenging. I mean, I did have to repeat some of those other levels several times, but they weren't as hard as the two final levels. Mainly the fifth level. The last level is really not hard when you know where to go. Because you can skip this large optional area and just go straight up the slather. I'll show you that. But this is the longest stage, and I would say the hardest actual stage. The boss is not too hard, but he is kind of challenging. I recommend using this guy with the whip or the chain. The only way to get this guy, though, is to get to the end of the level and possess him, and then, you know, die as this character, and then you'll start the stage off with this guy. So it's not the easiest character to get, but you will be able to get him right before the boss. You can possess them. So if you do get to the end of the level without this character, just possess him at the end right before the boss fight, and that you can get him that way. It's very easy to get him for the boss. I mainly recommend him. You know, I think he's mainly useful for the boss fight, but he's also very useful for the level because he can kill everything in one whip. So he can really pass through these guys easily. So I find him, you know, the best character in this area to use for the level itself as well. But you may not, if you don't get to the end of the level right away, you may not be able to use him right away. So that was an optional area, so I decided not to go in there because I didn't really care about it's an energy tank pickup, I believe, which I didn't even need. I had like full energy. Here's some life here. This is worth getting most of the time, unless you didn't take any damage. This part can be tricky if you try to do it quickly. So just make sure you kill every floating guy that appears, because they'll cause problems. So yeah, you got to jump on that platform fairly fast, but then just wait and turn around and wait on the second one, and you'll see a guy's coming towards you. So make sure you kill him. You want to take care of those guys because they'll cause a big problem when you have multiple of them floating around. I guess there's not that many of them, but still, just having one of those assholes floating around is a big problem because it'll knock you in the spikes. And then the only option you have is to possess the floating guy, or there'll be nobody to possess, so then you'll just die. So it's very bad to get knocked into the spikes in that area. Here I just take this wizard or this furry briefly. Because I just want to get through the area, and he's the only guy I could possess in that area since I turned into a ghost. Here, just keep walking and don't worry about it, and just jump over the one bullet that comes. You don't have to fight any of those guys. Now here I possess the chain guy. And this is the guy that I recommend having for the boss. Because he does good damage with his whip, and he's able to whip the head of the boss fairly easily. It's still a tricky fight. I think I barely beat it in this attempt, but you'll get the idea. You just have to whip him in the head, basically, and, try to watch out for him when he's moving around. Sometimes he'll get you in a corner when you don't know where he's going to move exactly, but when you do whip your chain, it stays out for, maybe a split second, which is enough time to, kind of hover it over the enemy. So you don't have to, whip. You don't have to hit with the initial whip. You can kind of fall down into the hit since the chain stays out for a little while. But yeah, you'll get the idea with this. It's not hard. It's a little tricky. It's one of the harder bosses, though, I guess, up to this point. You know, you see I have no life here, and I managed to just play better at the end and survive. Sometimes I get a burst of adrenaline when I start to get close to losing. Or I just got a little lucky, too, so... But yeah, now's the final level coming up. And the final level, it's actually not that hard. It's easier than this level, but the boss can be very hard. But I'm going to show you a trick with, you know, to beat the boss easily. So you're gonna have to find the where this character that I possess is. You're gonna have to find him somewhat on your own because I didn't show it in the video. So yeah, see this guy with the laser? You get him later in this stage, and I'm gonna give you a good idea of where to get him at. But you'll have to fuck around and find it yourself because I don't have the footage. But it's easy to do. I mean, I'm not one to go exploring in games, and I was able to find it, so it's not hard. But actually, the Ripper is the one who pointed out this character to me because he had powerful lasers that took a lot of damage off me when I was getting into that bonus area. And then the Ripper said I should try to possess that guy and use him for the boss. I didn't even realize there was a laser guy up there because I wasn't really paying attention to who shot me. And then the Ripper also figured out another trick with this guy where if you duck and fire, duck and fire, duck and fire rapidly, you can rapidly shoot. And, you know, that's what I'll show you on the boss. You can increase your fire rate. It's kind of like a glitch, I think. But it works. But yeah, just follow this path. And you get an energy tank up here if you want it. I didn't even need it, I don't think, in this with this guy. So yeah, go up this ladder. If you skip the ladder and keep going, you'll go to like additional like optional areas if you want to get all the keys and unlock the doors. Or actually, I don't even know what it does honestly if you unlock, because I don't think it's the key door. It's another door you can unlock by spelling the letters ghost by standing on those 5 letters, but I didn't bother with all that shit. So now you get the laser guy. You have to put the key in the door here, I think, to progress the game, as far as I know. I'm not sure if you do. I think so, but if you don't have any keys, it doesn't matter, I don't think. But yeah, just above that key door, if you jump around there, you're going to see some invisible platforms that'll appear. You got to go up into that area at the top, and you'll find some bonus energy tanks up in there. And if you keep progressing in that area, eventually you'll come across a laser guy to the right. And I suggest going in ghost form and just, instead of trying to jump across to get to the laser guy, because there's a lot of invisible holes in the floor where you'll fall through and die. Or not die. You'll fall through and have to like climb back up again, basically. So, you know, you'll use the ghost to get to that area where the laser guy is and then just possess him. And once you have him, you can even die and you'll just stay as the laser guy. Just, you know, don't get rid of the laser guy. Just keep him. But anyway, once you get to the boss, you want him to do his move where he pounds the ground, where he like hits into the ground. You have to like get under him to lure him in to do that. And he won't always do it. But if you can get him to do that, you want to have a little space so you're not directly under him, obviously, when he does it. And then just hit. I was using a rapid fire controller with just holding fire down, and I just kept hitting down, mashing down. And it would make my guy like duck and shoot, duck and shoot, duck and shoot really fast, and it would give me like a rapid fire and drain the boss's life really fast. If you don't have a rapid fire control, you can probably just hit down, shoot, down, shoot, down, shoot, down, shoot like that real fast. And it like shortens the animation of the shot, and it allows you to shoot rapidly. So use that on the boss, and you can drain his health real fast, and that should make the last boss very easy to take down. If you have any other questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.